Alright, this is the Category 2 video. Categories 2 and 3 are the bigger categories that are on the test, and it's all focused on linear stuff that we haven't talked about since last semester, so that will probably be where you would most want to spend your time. So starting with number 2, the scatter plot shows the number of free throws that different basketball players attempted and the number each player made. So based on the trend in the data, approximately how many free throws would a player be expected to make if he attempted 60 free throws? So you're given 60 free throws attempted, which would be a value down here, and you're supposed to find how many free throws they would make. So all of your data points are going to fall on this line. And typically what I do is I put all of these points on the graph and see which ones look the best. So if I put a dot at 60 up here, that's kind of high. Like the data is kind of down in this area. So 60 would be kind of high. I know it's in line with these up here, but remember for scatter plots, the point is that you find kind of like the average of the points. And so if you were to draw a good trend line, it would be lower to accommodate for these that are down here. So 60 would be too high, 50 is kind of high. Now we're down to 35 and 25. So 25 would be here and 35 would be here. 35 is kind of in line with these. 25 is kind of in line with these, but 35 is kind of more in the middle. So 35 is the best number. And again, before I even put that dot, I kind of drew a trend line through here. So remember, the trend line goes through kind of the middle of the points. You should have an equal number of points above the line as you do below the line, and it kind of gives a good average of where the dots should line up. So 35 is your best estimate. Number 8. I remember this question when I saw it, knowing that the kids probably struggled with it just because it's a lot of stuff. But it says the side lengths are given below in centimeters. If the perimeter is 78 centimeters, what's the value of x? So remember, when we're talking about perimeter, we're just adding all the sides. So I would just add all these sides together. X squared plus 2x plus 12 plus 2x minus 3 plus 2x minus 3. And then just start combining like terms. This is the only x squared I have. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 x. And then 12 minus 3 would be plus 6. And it says that this equals 72. Now something that I would look at is my answer choices. If I had an x value that was a negative, I would focus on this one right here. 2 times a negative 12 would be negative 24. And I can't have this number be a negative number. So I'm going to cross out those negatives because I can't have the side length be negative. So I'm looking at either 6 or 12. So I would use my calculator and put x squared plus 6x plus 6. And it's asking for when it's 72. Well, at 6, it's 78. At 12, it's 222. What did I do wrong? X squared plus 6x plus 6. X squared. 6. Oh, because this says 78. Okay. Ay. So, this is 78. This is 78. I hope you guys were yelling at me watching this video. Miss Neal, you did it wrong. Okay. So, now, when x is 6, y is 78. So the value of x would be 6. You know what? I make mistakes too. For that, I should drink some coffee. That's my 3rd cup this morning. Don't judge me. Okay, moving forward. Number 10. The mapping below represents all the points on the graph of a function. What is the domain? A question like this Either you know it or you don't if you know what domain is. So domain are the x's, so everything in this bubble should be in a list. So either -4, -1, 0, 2, and 7. The answer is F, we can move on. If you didn't know what domain was, this was going to be a struggle for you. Domain is X. Number 16. Which statement about the quadratic parent function is true? So we're thinking quadratic parent function. That is y equals x squared. So something that you could do, just so that you have a visual, is go ahead and graph it so you can think about things as you're reading them. So it says it's symmetrical about the x-axis, symmetrical about the y-axis. Domain is a set of all negative numbers, and the range is a set of all real numbers. So H and J, they switched them. Remember that the domain is all real numbers, and the range would be not negative numbers. So the range is all these positive numbers, including 0, but domain's all real. So they switched those two parts for those answers. So is it symmetrical about the x or the y? Well, here's the y-axis, and that would be the line of symmetry. So it's symmetrical about the y-axis. Maybe you don't need the graph to look at. Maybe you do. Just remember that it's there as a strategy. You can always look at stuff in your calculator just to get a better picture. The first 5 terms in a pattern are shown below. If the pattern continues, which expression can be used to find the nth term? So really, it's kind of giving us this equation and wants to know how to make this pattern continue. So don't forget that this is the first term, second term, third term, fourth term, fifth term. So there's a couple things that we can do. We can either plug these numbers into here and see which one works. We can put all of these into y equals and see which one would work. We can think about our sequence pattern, our sequence function formula. And in order to do that, we use T1 plus the difference times n minus 1. That would be the next term. No, whatever. So we have the difference going on here is plus 0.25, and this increases 0.25, increases 0.25, which tells us, actually kind of gives us our answer. So this is increasing. This is kind of like our slope, which is the difference, and it's increasing by 0.25. So in that case, I would pick that answer and then fill in my calculator. And then make sure that my table matches the sequence now, which it does. What else could you do? This would be negative 0.5 plus 0.25 and minus 1. I'm getting this confused with the other one. I'll come back to this so my brain can think for a moment. But I would just find the difference here, plug these in the calculator, something like that. Any term, take the first term, the difference. No, this would work. Okay, I'm not crazy. So this would be negative 0.5, that's the first term, plus the difference is 0.25, the n minus 1. Then you distribute this, plus 0.25 and minus 0.25. Combine like terms here, 0.25 and minus 0.75. And that's how we get to this. If you think about this as a linear function, and this would kind of be like your y-intercept, that's when x is 0. So if you go backwards 1, this would be negative 0.75, where the x is 0. And that's how we get that also. You probably didn't need that much explanation. I gave it to you anyway. Deal with it. Okay. Which inequality is equivalent? So we are solving this to get to a y equals. Just some key things to remember. If you divide by a negative, you have to flip your sign. So we're just going to start working to try and get the y's on the one side and the x's on the other. So I'm going to subtract 2y, negative 3x, 3y plus 9, and then minus the 9, negative 3x minus 9, 3y, divide everything by 3. So I have negative x minus 3 greater than y. So if I want to put the y on the other side in order to like compare my answer choices, remember if I flip this, I have to flip the sign. So it's kind of like making a mirror image. So if I bring the y over here, this says that the y is smaller than this side. So the y still has to be smaller. So if you rearrange your equation, make sure you flip your sign. Or just analyze it the other way. So you can look at this part and cross out these two, because this part matches. And then it says that this part is bigger than the y. So this part has to be bigger than the y. And when I rewrote it, that's how I got that symbol. Okay?